Hey guys, so this is what if Daku has super speed part 1. Now guys, basically my last video I uploaded was um what if Danny Panda was in Young Justice part 5. Now guys, basically after this video I'm going to be putting up my poster or my thing on the commentary I do every Monday, basically about how what ifs I'm gonna be making this week. Now, since this week I literally have no school because Thanksgiving break, so basically I'm gonna be uploading a lot more consistently. Now, guys, basically I'm only be uploading 3 what ifs this week. I'm gonna be uploading what if Spider-Man was in Young Justice, the next part. What if Ben 10 was in Young Justice, the next part. And then after that, I'm gonna be uploading just a bunch of action figure content since I wanna hop back on to my action figure content or my stop motion, stuff like that. So yeah. So the next video after those 2 what ifs I'm gonna be making after this one, I'm going to be uploading like a bunch more action figures skits, and then I'm gonna be uploading a lot more and I mean a lot more action figure comedy skits, stop motions, way more consistently. I'm still gonna be doing what ifs, but I'm only gonna be doing 3 and do multiple different comedy shorts and stop motions every week. Now every weekend I'm gonna be uploading at least a stop motion or a quick little like short stop motion or like a trailer to a stop motion, but some type of animation or some type of stop motion. So yeah, guys. So just because in my description of my channel is action figures, stop motions, and what ifs and stuff like that. And I've only been doing what ifs for a long time, like about like a whole month. I've only been doing what ifs. So I'm gonna be uploading more action figure content after the next what ifs, next Young Justice, the next 2 Young Justice what ifs I'm making. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's just get into it. Now we start our story off with Dazuka Midoriya and how his life would change if he was born with a quirk, but not a quirk that he would be born with, a quirk that would change his life and would make him a hero. And then basically we start our story off with Dazuka Midoriya as a child going to the quirk doctor. And that point, as a child, Deku's life was exactly the same. Basically, as he went to the quirk doctor gave him the news that he had a quirk. And he had the, thing in his joints. And basically, he was super excited. The quirk doctor said that Dazuka Midoriya, or your son, had a super speed quirk. A quirk very unique, since most speed quirks weren't very without mutations like Ida, or were just type of speed boost quirks. But Zuko's quirk, his speed is superhuman. It's not just a speed enhancer, it's incredibly fast. Basically saying that Deku could possibly outrun the speed of light one day if he pushes by to the limits. Basically, Inka was super excited to hear this, and she had more faith in the Deku, knowing that Deku could possibly become a really good hero one day. And Deku was excited as well. Now, when Deku went home and told his dad, in this universe, his dad would be at home a little bit more, because he would still be, his job overseas, but basically for the next couple of days he'll be at home since his job overseas has some sort of problem with the pretty much office or whatever, and he was able to do online work, so he didn't lose his job. So basically, Asashi was at home most of the time, and Inko and Asashi, or the relationship, wouldn't wither away since Asashi would still be there. And basically, we pretty much see Deku show his dad, and basically Deku starts running around the house trying to activate his quirk. And basically, the next day when Deku goes to school, he tells them about his quirk, about how he has super speed, or his quirk is called speed. And basically, pretty much Bakugo says that's pretty cool, but not as cool as mine, him showing off his explosion quirk. Now basically, we see pretty much Deku over the next couple weeks, his quirk has still not activated. Now pretty much his mom's kind of worried, and the doctors are kind of because Deku's quirk should have activated about a month ago, but now it's been about 6 months, a couple weeks. I mean, like 6 months from the quirk doctor visit, and he still hasn't activated his quirk. The quirk doctor says he may be the late bloomer. Maybe he's a late bloomer. It will activate later on in puberty. Basically, we switch a couple years later, and throughout Deku not activating his quirk, Bakugo goes on to bully Deku because he just thinks Deku just is lying about having a quirk. So he just calls him quirkless and basically just bullies him the same in canon. All up until one day, 6 days before the last day of school, when they go off to do pretty much quirk training or the 10-month art training. Now we see Deku wake up that morning feeling a little bit different. Now we see Deku gets ready and pretty much gets ready, takes a duffel bag. Basically, in this canon, Deku being a part of the track team, basically him having more of a liking to running, since running helps him think. And basically saying that Deku barely feels any type of fatigue when he runs. It's like it's second nature for him. It's like he's floating on air when he runs. Now basically, we see Deku go to school and he starts to get picked on by Bakugo's goons until Bakugo shows up. And Bakugo tells, Deku, stay in your place, basically, pushing Deku out the way, and he goes through the door into the school first. Now we basically see Deku get into class, and pretty much we see, the teacher just start teaching the lesson, and as Bakugo and the class goes as planned, and it's the end of the day, basically Bakugo stops Deku and about to, beat him up. And basically Deku drops his double bag, basically saying, enough, Bakugo. And basically him getting a fighting stance and saying, I'm sick and tired of you bullying me. Him having a little bit more confidence since Deku knows he has a quirk. The doctor said so. So Deku doesn't have a low self-esteem or as a low self-esteem in canon. He still has, not that much, self-esteem, but he has enough to actually stand up for himself. Now you basically see Bakugo say, "Oh, you're all high and mighty, aren't you, quirkless?" Basically Deku saying, "I told you multiple times again, I'm not quirkless." And basically Bakugo saying, "Sure, I never seen anybody's quirk not activate by the time they're 13. You're 15 now, Deku. You should already have your quirk activated." Now Deku looks at him and gets angry, throwing a punch towards Bakugo. Bakugo dodges and is about to throw Deku with the explosion. But when we see in Deku's perspection, or his sight, we see the explosion stop or slow down. Deku moves and sees that everything is in slow motion. The goons are in slow motion, cheering on Bakugo. Bakugo still thinks he's hitting Deku, and Deku's already out of his clutches. Deku's confused, and he starts looking around. And Deku sees that his quirk has activated. Now, the doctor always said Deku's speed quirk is unfathomable and it has a lot of potential. And he might be way more powerful than we think. And basically, Deku walks towards the same spot Bakugo was going to hit him with an explosion. And Deku dodges it, drop kicking Bakugo in the nards. Bakugo falls into the ground, and his goons or lackeys start to straight up just, pretty much, straight up say, "Oh snap, Deku beat the little breaks out you." Basically just, roasting Bakugo, saying Bakugo ain't nothing anymore. Pretty much them trying to get on Deku's good side, since because now they seen a slight spark of electricity or light come off of Deku when he dodged the attack from Bakugo and punched him, sending Bakugo flying about 6 feet away. Now Deku said shut up, and basically he just started to walk off. He started to pick up his speed, trying to get back home, and then before he even knew it, when he started to jog and started to transition into running from his jogging, he was already at his house before he can know it. Basically him looking behind himself, seeing pretty much, green lines following him afterwards as he ran. Basically, kind of like Quicksilver from Age of Ultron, pretty much the blue energy that he leaves behind when he runs. It's the same for Deku, it's just green. Now Deku starts walks off and basically gets into the house. Now he tells his mom about what happened, and his mom says, "What happened?" Now basically, his mom says, "Your quirk's activated?" Now basically, Deku says, "Yeah," and pretty much we switch a couple days later when Deku goes to the quirk doctor. and they just say Deku's just a true, late bloomer. Now, basically, we go back, we switch a couple days later after the last 4 days of school before they go out to the quirk assessments. This past couple days, Deku doesn't really look at Bakugo, and Bakugo doesn't really even talk to Deku. And also, his Goonies have left Bakugo aside since they don't want anything to do with Bakugo since he got his butt handed to him by somebody that has super speed that he didn't believe for the whole years of them growing up in the same school district. Now, I basically switch the the last day of school, and pretty much you know, teacher says we should pass these, forms out, but I all know you want to be heroes. Basically, him throwing them in the air, and all they're using their quirks, all excitedly. Deku not using any of his because he just, is trying to figure out how to control it. Since now, every time Deku even slightly runs or transitions into running as he jogs, he just super speeds or speed waltzes. And also, he can't really, his brain hasn't, what was it? Deku's reaction time hasn't evolved yet to, you know, counter counterpart his quirk. Basically, his reaction time, super speed comes with a lot of other abilities. Like, reaction time has to be as fast as your super speed. Basically, Deku's super speed, his reaction time, basically, it's becoming stronger, but he still needs enough time for his quirk to actually, bond to his body since his quirk has just been activated. Now, basically, we see pretty much Deku just sit down there and pretty much Bakugo does a whole speech, and most of his goonies don't really, care, and especially Deku doesn't care. Because Bakugo got knocked out that day. Like, Bakugo got knocked out, and the school found him knocked out in the front of the school, meaning that his mom and dad didn't see him that night. He was laid out in the front of the school the whole night. Now, basically, we see pretty much some of the students still fear Bakugo, and pretty much he just, scoffs saying, "You're all impressed by me. That's why you're all in shock. You can't say a word." Basically, most of them not really, caring. Now, basically, we see the, teacher say, "Izuku, you signed up for UA." Now, basically, Deku says, "Yeah." And Bakugo says, you. And basically, him forgetting that, Deku was in quirkless and he saw him have a quirk because he got knocked out by a fast-moving hand that was covered in green light. Now, basically, we see Bakugo look at Deku and just scoff. Basically, Bakugo not really having no real reason to be mad at Deku, since pretty much Deku did tell him he had a quirk, but he didn't believe him. Now, basically, we get switched to pretty much the end of the day, and Deku's about to leave. And Bakugo comes up to him and saying, "I'm not gonna let you go run around here, making everybody think I'm a little pushover." And basically, Deku says, "I'm not really trying to make you feel all sad, and I don't really care if you feel all high and mighty here, Bakugo. But I don't really care what you think. I'm getting into UA, and you're most likely not with that villainous quirk of yours. Explosions, really?" Now, basically, Deku, just being a smartass, sorry, I can't even say it. Basically, him being, not really liking Bakugo, since Bakugo did bully him. He freaking hates Bakugo. But Bakugo pretty much goes on about how he's the best and how I'm not gonna let you overshine me. Him saying the drop out of the whole entire, thought of you being into UA. Now, Deku scoffs at Bakugo, saying just to get lost, and basically Deku goes to the tunnel area. Now, Deku's walking, Sludge Villain tries to get against him, but Deku's part of his quirk that slows down time around him as he moves. Deku dodges out the way, and just sprints away all the way to his house, basically making the Sludge Villain be very confused on where Deku went. Now, Deku gets into his house and basically pretty much lays down. He hears in the news about the whole entire Sludge Villain event with Bakugo, but he doesn't really care. Now, basically, switch to the next day, and Deku gets in a darker green version of his jumpsuit he trained with. And basically, him running to Daigyo Beach and started to train there. Now, Deku pretty much clears a path on Daigyo Beach and starts to run there every day, building up his tolerance, his speed. Him finding out that most of his clothing aren't durable enough to go up against his speed. Now let me explain Deku's super speed. Now it's plain old super speed, but it's way more powerful than that because super speed comes from an array of extra abilities that makes you, able to actually use super speed intensively. Now basically, reaction time or super thinking, like being able to think at light speed, that's a power Deku has. Durability with the skin, basically, since Quicksilver, none of the Quicksilvers have the Speed Force, it's confusing how their skin can build up or go up against their speed and not, obliterate or burn up. That's basically, the Speed Force is there to stop Barry Allen from being burnt up or being destroyed as he runs. So basically, for pretty much, what was it? Basically, Quicksilvers, all Quicksilvers have a type of durability or invulnerability that activates as they run. So when Deku runs, he becomes invulnerable, but not to outside attacks. He becomes vulnerable to friction, meaning that as Deku runs, his body can withstand the running, but if he gets hit as he runs, or he gets, pretty much caught off guard or trips, basically his skin is still semi-invulnerable, but can still be, cut or bruised if he was ever punched in the face or stopped by a movable object as he was running. So basically, pretty much he has a slight invulnerability, but it only works when he runs. Now basically, we also, another power Deku has, phasing abilities. Now, mostly only Speedster have phasing abilities, and Quicksilver does have phasing abilities, but not really. He has the ability to vibrate his hands, like in X-Men Age of Ultron, when he, vibrated his hands to break the glass and, jailbreak Magneto out of, his prison. Basically, Deku having the same ability to vibrate his hands to break walls and stuff like that. So Deku can't phase through walls, but he can vibrate his molecules in such a friction that he can break pretty much anything, meaning that he can break through a brick wall or just anything with his vibration. Also, he can use his speed in creative ways, like pretty much making mini tornadoes in a circle as he runs, or basically using his speed to build up friction to pull off incredibly insane superhuman-like punches. And also Deku has increased agility as well, since super speed does increase your movement. And Deku does have pretty much, what was it? Deku can also use his energy in different ways. So Deku built up a lot of energy as he runs, because Deku gives off some sort of energy as he runs. That's why the green energy, around his body when he runs happens. Now when Deku runs, he can build up a lot of the energy in a tornado or a, super speed or speedster cyclone, and basically grab one of the energy shards and pretty much manifest it in somewhat kind of like how Flash threw lightning once. Now basically he can shoot energy. So yeah, green energy. Deku can do that, but he needs a lot of time to build up a lot of energy, pure energy from his speedster cyclone. So yeah, it can't really do it on the fly, but Deku does have a pretty good advantage in the fight, since when Deku runs, time moves incredibly fast in his perspective. Basically, when he runs, everything's in slow motion, kind of like Quicksilver in Age of Apocalypse, or X-Men Apocalypse. And basically, his perception of time slows down, and time around him slows down as well. Now, basically, we see Deku pretty much design his own hero costume throughout the 10-month arc, training him, working on his stamina, and basically as he runs, Deku also figures out that he needs, stamina, that he has super metabolism. Deku has super metabolism, so he needs to eat a lot more. So basically, Deku doing the 10-month arc training, he does get a little bit of a side job so he can buy a lot more food than his mom already buys at home. So he eats a lot, like Goku food. I mean, he eats a lot. Now, basically, Deku also doesn't have super, I think the same thing that Quicksilver doesn't have. He doesn't have super, super endurance or whatever. Deku can run for an incredibly fast amount of time, but if he runs anything longer than like 5 or 6 hours straight, his body starts to buckle down to him, and his muscles start to go under increased strain. Basically, Deku, collapsing or either passing out. Now, basically, we also see pretty much Deku has all those abilities, and pretty much all of them work together to make his super speed incredibly fast. Now, also, his invulnerability or his speed does help out. So, in fact, that when he runs, he doesn't, make huge craters underneath his feet. So, because like in X-Men Apocalypse Quicksilver, how fast he's moving, in theory, he should be making huge, like astronaut big craters on the planet as he runs. But we don't really know. Now, basically, he pretty much switched to pretty much Deku getting ready for the entry exams after his 10-month art training. Now, with the 10-month art training, Deku, as he runs, he built up a lot of leg muscle, and he went to the gym like every day, basically, and building up a pretty good muscle, getting that type of athlete swimmer body, that type of Spider-Man or Quicksilver body. Basically, him being slightly muscular but not too bulky, kind of like the same bod or built as Speed from the Young Avengers. Now, basically, or the New Avengers. Now, basically, we pretty much see Deku get ready for pretty much UAs and Sugar exams, and he walks in there. Now, Deku comes across Ochaku in this cannon, and he doesn't trip, but he does bump into her. Now, Deku, looks at her and pretty much greets himself as Izuku Midoriya. Now, basically, we see Deku pretty much, walk off, pretty much, waving at Ochaku, saying good luck. And pretty much, Deku was in a darker green version of his sweatshirt, or his sweat clothes, his training clothes. Basically, the sleeves being rolled up and him having the type of running gloves on. And basically, pretty much we see pretty much Deku, just be quiet when the whole time, President Mike explains everything. Now, as Deku goes over there to try to talk to Ochaku like he did in canon, Ida still tries to stop him. But Deku says to get out of my way, please. Basically, him just speeding past Ida and just appearing right next to Ochaku. He tries to talk to her, but they get interrupted when President Mike says to start. And basically, Deku and the rest of the class pretty much getting ready to start, and Deku starts to sprint off. And basically, him bolting. I mean, like, straight up Superman. I mean, like, flash bolts, leaving a huge impact of wind, pushing multiple people behind him away or out of the fake city. And basically, making a huge type of Superman flight crater or behind him as he. Because when Deku gets ready to, when he does, a speed bolt, or when he's, in his running position and he goes off, or he jets off, or does a push off the ground to start running, it makes a huge crater, right where his foot was, about a car-sized crater, or a basketball-sized crater, depending on how fast he starts his running. Now, basically, we pretty much see Deku run around the fake city faster and faster each time, basically him catching up with Ida. Not even catching up, I mean just passing Ida in a second. Ida is confused on how fast Deku is, because Deku was moving through the fake city like a thunderbolt, I mean like a lightning bolt. Like, the teachers can't even see him. All they see is a green object, or a green-sized object, a green man-sized object just flying around, or just, sprinting or running around walls, up walls, down buildings, just running towards and through robots, just a bunch of things. Deku just running into the robots, vibrating his molecules, or vibrating his top body molecules to basically vibrate the robots' systems, making it so that when he collides with them, they just burst into many pieces. Deku does that for the rest of the whole entire, pretty much quirk assessments. I mean, the entry exams, him getting a pretty good score, him already getting enough score to get into UA, and he's already at top place at this point. Now, Deku runs up the wall and on top of a building and looks at the zero-pointer robot. As he looks down the building, he sees Ochaku about to get stomped by the robot. When he runs down the wall, he trips because the wall is kind of in stereo since it kind of has a lot of its, rock or the half of the wall ripped off. He falls down head first, but he gains his very much composure and lands Superman style, him running off. Now, basically, because of his super speed, for some reason, his bones in his leg area are a lot more durable. Like a lot more durable, about like titanium type durable. Now Deku starts to run off. So basically only people like All Might or people that can actually pull out strength to break middle can break Deku's bones. So or break Deku's bones in his leg area. So only Deku's like legs down to his hips are nearly, super durable. Now basically we see Deku fly or pretty much just fly through the air like super speed on rock, jumping in the air as he runs. Him getting to Ochaku and running her out the way. And as he picks her up, she blinks and she's already at the, pretty much recovery girl's office. Deku has to run around even more, but over time, as he's running around the 0 point robot, literally demobilizing him or just taking the 0 point robot's gears and pulling them all apart. As he's running, his first hour of him running starts to die down in his muscles. Now, Deku isn't getting slower, but he is feeling a lot more, fatigue. He starts to run more around, getting more points as fast as possible, but as he's pushing his limits, he starts to fade out of darkness in and out. Basically, when I said 5 hours to 4 hours and Deku can run, basically I mean like the first hour Deku starts to lose kind of, his footing. But basically if Deku runs longer than 4 minutes, he completely passes out. I mean passes out. I mean like just cold. Like he's like in a dead state, bro. I mean like Deku starts to run around more and more, trying to get more points as fast as possible. Pretty much the beeper goes off or the siren goes off, and Deku just trips and falls, pretty much just laying down on the ground. Now Deku gets back up, running out of the, pretty much, what was it, the entry exams, and pretty much goes back home. When he goes back home, pretty much his mom is really worried because Deku has some scars on his forehead and on his chest and his back because of the whole time him tripping at the end of the entry exams. Now pretty much Deku's mom tells Deku to go sleep. Basically Deku going to sleep, and the next day Deku gets the note from UA that he got in. Deku, cheering at this. Now Deku goes to UA the next day and basically gets into class 1A. Deku walks into class 1A and basically, greets most of his fellow class members. Ida walking up to Deku saying that you were a literal beast on the entry exams. You were amazing. Him bowing towards Deku saying you will overpower me by a land shot. Ida even more seeing Deku as a complete, even more, Ida sees Deku as a total rival. Like he can't beat Deku, but he's gonna try his hardest too, or to be as fast as Deku. But in reality, guys, I'm never gonna make Ida as fast as Deku. Deku's even gonna become faster. At this point, in Deku's training now, his speed is near the same speed as Wally West during the beginning of he's at the same speed as Wally West when he got his powers, like the first couple months when Wally West got his powers from the CW show. He's pretty fast. Deku's incredibly fast, but by the time this series is over, or the time this What If it gets his finale and it's done, basically it's pretty much Deku's speed is gonna be on par with Savitar's speed, or straight up God Flash's speed, that type of speed. Now basically we pretty much see Deku. Well, pretty much we pretty much see Deku get ready for pretty much get ready for, pretty much to get into class. He meets up his class members and he sits down. Now basically we pretty much see Azawa reveal himself in his whole entire sleeping bag and basically tells the class they're doing quirk assessments. He tells them to get out their lazy bums and they get outside. And basically get outside, getting in their sports or their gym outfits, them getting ready. Now Deku is told to throw the ball first, and Deku vibrates his molecules in his hands or in his wrists instead of his hands, and basically moves his hand as fast as possible, focusing most of speed in that movement of throwing the ball, building up enough friction to throw the ball pretty good, about 2 times higher than Bakugo's throw. Now basically, for the long jump, Deku backs up off the long jump and basically uses his speed and builds up pretty much he has about like 6 feet away. So basically he builds up some speed to lightly jump over the sand pit. For the race, Deku obviously dominates the race. And for the pretty much grip test strength, Deku vibrates his molecules, breaking the machine, making it before it broke, making it go the highest setting. Him getting first place. Yeah. So basically, Deku, is pretty much congratulated as first place, and pretty much Bakugo just scoffs at this, walking off. Now, as they're going back home, Deku, when no one's looking, he just speed blitzes home. But as he's running, he gets stopped by somebody. Him getting hit upside the head, being trapped, pretty much him tripping down into pretty much a alleyway. He looks around and he sees a man in black, basically speed blitzing Deku, punching him up and down, punching him in all sorts of different directions. But Deku's enhanced perception time, it's really hard, or like it's really shocking for him not to be able to see this man moving at this fast. The man leaves Deku bleeding out in the alleyway, basically telling Deku to watch himself and to say that pretty much a hierarchy of people, a new hierarchy of speedsters are coming to the world. Basically, in this version, let's just say speed quirk users, similar to Deku, people that have speed quirks stronger or even similar to Deku's, have started their own society, you can say. Now I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you guys like and subscribe. As always, guys, have a blessed day. I know this video was kind of rushed and it wasn't really thought through, and basically it didn't have that much action. But in part 2, I will be uploading. In part 2 of this What If, I'm going to be making Deku a little bit more, action packed, and basically making him a little bit more, action packed. Now, guys, you guys can decide what ship should this What If be. Should Deku be shipped with his Cannoneer ship like was it Achaku, or somebody else? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. As always, guys, have a blessed day.